My sister stole my wedding dress, and my parents tried for a CO bride ceremony. So I took revenge, exposed their manipulation, and took back my wedding. I sit at my parents' kitchen table, the same maple surface where I did homework for 15 years, and notice how the finish has worn away in the spots where our plates always sat. Mom busies herself at the stove, periodically glancing at Dad, who's pouring wine with unusual generosity. "More mashed potatoes, April?" Mom asks, her voice pitched unnaturally high. "I'm good." I watch as she heaps a second serving onto Troy's plate without waiting for his answer. My brother barely notices, thumbs tapping furiously on his phone screen. His wife, Jessica, fusses over their 8-year-old Mason, cutting his meat into precisely equal squares. "Isn't it nice? All of us together on a Tuesday?" Mom continues, smoothing her apron. "So rare these days with everyone's schedules." I nod, taking a sip of wine to hide my frown. A Tuesday night family dinner with no occasion, the good china. Dad's retirement watch gleaming on his wrist, Mom's pearl earrings that only emerge for church and graduations. Something's wrong. Troy and Dad exchange a look. Mom drops her fork with a clatter. April. Mom clears her throat. "We need to discuss something important about Mason's future." The air shifts. I set down my glass. Dad slides an official-looking document across the table toward me. Bank letterhead, loan paperwork. My stomach tightens as I scan the top page, a $40,000 college fund co-signing agreement. "It's just a formality," Troy says, setting his phone down for the first time tonight. His rehearsed tone makes my skin prickle. The bank needs a second signature with solid credit, someone responsible. The compliment lands hollow. I flip to the second page where my name is already typed in the cosigner field. "You finally have that bonus money," Mom says, reaching for my hand. Her eyes well with practiced tears. Family helps family. The realization blooms cold in my chest. This dinner wasn't spontaneous. The invitation, the fancy settings, the unusual Tuesday, a gathering, a calculated ambush. They've been planning this for weeks. I look at my nephew Mason, innocently pushing peas into patterns, unaware he's the emotional pawn in tonight's game. The kitchen dissolves around me, replaced by the fluorescent lights of Palmer's Pharmacy 12 years ago. 16-year-old me, counting pills into bottles after school while other kids went to football games. My textbook spread on the break room table during my 30-minute dinner, studying for AP exams that might earn me scholarships. My parents never came to my science competitions. But Troy's football games? They had custom sweatshirts made. The day my full-ride acceptance letter arrived, Mom had glanced up from preparing Troy's favorite dinner. "That's nice, dear. Could you set the table?" 2 months later, they threw Troy a college send-off party with 50 guests. I celebrated my scholarship alone with a single cupcake bought from the bakery where I'd picked up summer shifts. The interest rate is reasonable, Dad says now, tapping the paper with his index finger, pulling me back to the present. And Mason's future depends on this foundation. My throat tightens. I need time to think about this. Troy's jaw clenches. The bank appointment is already scheduled for Thursday. Thursday? My voice rises. That's 2 days from now. "After everything we've done for you," Mom interjects, dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. I nearly laugh. What exactly had they done? I paid my way through college with scholarships and part-time jobs. $60,000 in student loans that I finally paid off last month. No CO signers on those papers. Dad leans forward, his voice dropping to that commanding tone he used when I stayed out past curfew. "This is what family does, April." "Excuse me," I mutter, pushing back from the table. Bathroom. I lock the door behind me, grip the cool edge of the sink, and splash water on my face. In the mirror, my grandmother's eyes stare back at me. Gran, who raised 3 kids alone after Grandpa died, who taught me to stand tall when it felt easier to shrink. "Your life belongs to you first," she used to whisper when I'd cry about Troy getting the bigger bedroom, the newer bike, the louder praise. My hands tremble as I dry my face. They expect me to walk back in there and sign away my financial future for a nephew whose college fund should have been started by his parents years ago, for a brother who's never once helped me, for parents who see me as the reliable backup plan. I straighten my shoulders, my grandmother's strength flowing into my spine. Thursday's bank appointment is already in their calendar. But my answer doesn't have to be the one they've scheduled. Have you ever been ambushed by family expecting your financial support? That moment when you realize the casual dinner invitation was actually a carefully orchestrated trap. Share your experience in the comments below. The next morning, the morning sun slants through my apartment blinds as I stare at my laptop screen, coffee forgotten beside me. My fingers hover over the keyboard, frozen by what I'm seeing. Account access, 6:42 p.m. Tuesday. The company benefits portal logs every login. Yesterday, hours before the casual family dinner, someone viewed my bonus details from an IP address I don't recognize. I pick up my phone, scrolling to a contact I rarely use. 3 rings. Accounting department. Sylvia speaking. Hi Sylvia, it's April Donovan. Quick question, does Kathy Moore's daughter still work in IT? A pause. Lisa, yes, but what's this about? The pieces click together, like a puzzle I never wanted to solve. Lisa Moore, my mother's best friend's daughter, the woman who sends mom birthday cards every year. Who works in IT security. Just checking. Thanks. I hang up before she can ask more questions. My bank statement shows it clearly. $15,200 deposited last Friday. The exact amount Mom mentioned at dinner, down to the dollar. They knew precisely what I had. My phone buzzes. Troy again, his 5th call since I walked out last night. I let it ring through to voicemail, then open my text messages. I scroll back weeks, finding the group chat I muted long ago. Troy, she just got her bonus. Mom confirmed amount dinner strategy still on for Tuesday, Dad. Confirmed. Your mother's making her favorite meal. Troy, perfect. She won't see it coming. My stomach twists as if someone punched me. I slam the laptop closed and cross to my closet, dragging out the old cardboard box I've moved with me to every apartment since college. Inside, beneath yearbooks and school certificates, I find my childhood diary with the broken lock. May 15th, Mom and Dad bought Troy a car for graduation. They gave me a card with $50. September 3rd, missed my science competition because Troy had a scrimmage. Dad said, there'll be other competitions. December 25th, Troy got the new computer. I got clothes for school. Page after page of documented favoritism, written in increasingly smaller handwriting, as if I was trying to make my complaints take up less space, just like I always did at home. At the bottom of the box lies a folder of loan documents. My name alone on every page, no co-signers, no parental support. My phone rings again. Troy. What? I snap, answering against my better judgment. You need to stop being difficult, he says, skipping hello. Mom's been crying all morning. I'm not signing those papers. Family helps family, April. What would Gran say if she saw you being so selfish? The mention of my grandmother makes my blood boil. Don't you dare use Gran against me. She taught me to stand on my own feet, something you never learned. Look, Mason needs this. It's his future. Why can't you or Mom and Dad co-sign? Why me? His pause tells me everything. Because your credit score is better, he finally admits. Dad's retirement affected their score, and Jessica and I have the house mortgage, so I'm the backup plan. You're being dramatic. Dad says you're embarrassing the family. People at church are asking questions. My doorbell rings. I peer through the peephole to see Jessica standing there, perfectly styled as always. I have to go, I mutter, hanging up. Before I can decide whether to open the door, my phone chimes with a work email from Janice in HR. Is everything all right? I received a concerning call from a relative of yours about your difficult time. I nearly dropped the phone. They're calling my workplace, now. The doorbell rings again, more insistent. However, I don't answer and prepare for work, as I have a meeting later that morning. At work later, Margaret from the research lab drops into the chair beside my desk. At 62, she's seen it all. Her salt and pepper curls frame a face that doesn't suffer fools. You look like you haven't slept, she says, pushing a coffee toward me. Family troubles? I hesitate. How did you know? Your brother called the front desk asking about you, something about a family emergency. She leans closer. I told reception you were in a meeting all day. Thanks, I whisper, relief washing over me. It's complicated. Family usually is. Margaret's eyes narrow. My sister tried the same thing when our father died. Wanted me to mortgage my house to save hers. She points a finger at me. People who use family as a weapon don't deserve your sacrifice. My phone buzzes with a text from my best friend Rachel, just checking in. Want to grab dinner tonight? Before I can respond, Troy's name flashes on my screen. April, we need to talk. I already spent some of the college fund money on... I decline the call, my heart pounding. He's already spent the money? Money that doesn't exist yet? My desk phone rings. A local number I don't recognize. Hello, April? This is Mark Jenkins from First Federal. I'm calling about the family account your father mentioned. I hang up, my hand shaking. That evening, my mother's number appears on my phone. For the first time in my adult life, I decline a family dinner invitation. I can't make it tonight, I say firmly. Or Thursday. April, Catherine Donovan. Her voice breaks. You're breaking your father's heart. I end the call and notice something strange. My hands have stopped trembling. The next morning, Troy appears in the lobby of my building, his voice echoing through the atrium. I need to see my sister. It's a family emergency. My coworkers watch as I meet him at the security desk. You need to leave, I tell him, loud enough for everyone to hear. Not until you agree to sign those papers, he hisses. No. The word feels foreign but powerful on my tongue. The answer is no. As security escorts him out, I feel the weight of stares and whispers, but I straighten my shoulders and walk back to my desk. On Sunday that week, the church bulletin board looms before me, displaying family announcements in cheerful script. I've barely stepped through the heavy wooden doors when Uncle Roger materializes at my elbow. There's my favorite niece, he says, his hand clamping my shoulder. Your mother tells me you're having some trouble understanding family obligations. Before I can respond, Aunt Cheryl appears on my other side. Mason is such a bright boy. Shame if his potential went to waste because of pride. Their coordinated attack continues through coffee hour, relatives appearing with rehearsed arguments whenever I try to escape. Pastor Williams even corners me beside the hymnal shelf. The good book tells us family comes first, April. Your parents have prayed about this matter extensively. So, my stomach knots. Prayers about my bank account. How convenient. Monday morning brings a crisp white envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a single line typed in bold, ungrateful daughters burn in hell. The paper trembles in my hand. Troy calls that evening, his voice thick with practiced tears. Mason asked why Aunt April doesn't love him enough to help with college. My 8-year-old nephew suddenly concerned about higher education financing. At Hannaford's on Tuesday, Mrs. Peterson, who's known me since kindergarten, studies the contents of my shopping cart and sniffs. Some people remember where they came from, she mutters, loud enough for other shoppers to hear. The final straw comes Wednesday, when Dad appears at my workplace reception desk, his retirement watch gleaming under fluorescent lights. Need to speak with my daughter, he tells the receptionist with the authoritative tone that once sent me scurrying to my room. Family emergency. I meet him in the lobby, arms crossed. This is inappropriate. What's inappropriate is abandoning your family when they need you. His voice carries to my colleagues passing through security. Thursday, 10 o'clock. The loan officer is expecting us. That night, I stare at my tiny apartment ceiling, calculating how many hours remain until I'm expected to sign away my financial future. My company email pings at 9:17 p.m. Biomedical research position, San Francisco branch expansion. Qualified internal candidates encouraged to apply immediately. I blink at the screen. The job description matches my skills perfectly. 3 minutes later, Margaret from HR texts. Did you see the posting? Application deadline Friday. Your experience with the Carlton project makes you perfect. For the first time in days, I breathe deeply. 3,000 miles of geographical insulation. The possibility unfurls like a map showing an escape route. I apply at midnight, fingers flying across my keyboard. Thursday arrives with my anxiety, yet I do not meet my father in the morning and do not sign anything. However, the evening arrives with another ambush. This one at my parents' house, where I've been summoned to talk things through reasonably. I freeze in the doorway, counting heads, Troy and Jessica, Mom and Dad, Pastor Williams, Uncle Roger and Aunt Cheryl, 2 church elders, and my cousin Stephanie, who works at the bank. An intervention, Troy announces, chest puffed with righteousness. Because we're worried about your spiritual welfare. For 20 minutes, I sit silently as Troy delivers what sounds like a practice sermon on Christian duty and family obligation. Mother dabs at her eyes with a handkerchief I recognize from her community theater performances. After all, we sacrificed for you, she whispers, her voice breaking perfectly on cue. The room hums with murmurs of agreement. Your grandmother would be so disappointed, Aunt Cheryl adds, though she barely knew Gran. Something snaps inside me. My grandmother taught me to stand on my own feet. You always were difficult, Dad sighs. Difficult? The word escapes, like steam from a pressure cooker. I worked every summer since 15. I earned my scholarship. I paid my student loans without a CO signer or family help. I sacrificed too. Troy lunges forward. This isn't about you. It never is. I stand, surprised by my steady hands. And that's the problem. Later that night, after quarreling and they have left, Rachel helps me pack essentials into unmarked boxes stored in her garage. They really thought a prayer circle would convince you to sign a loan? They thought God would back up their financial plan. I wrap my grandmother's china teacup in bubble wrap. The San Francisco HR department called. They want a virtual interview tomorrow. On Friday morning, I accept the California position with a significant raise. Margaret rearranges my work schedule without questions. Family emergency, she tells my supervisor with a conspiratorial wink. I also check my one-way ticket scheduled for Wednesday next week. My elderly neighbor, Mr. Wilson, agrees to collect my mail. Had to escape my own brother's schemes back in 1982, he confides. Sometimes distance is the only language they understand. Each action builds momentum. On Monday morning, bank accounts transfer to West Coast branches. Mail forwarding gets established. That same day, I make my final student loan payment. I celebrate alone with sparkling cider in a plastic cup. The symmetry feels right, beginning and ending my financial independence journey in solitude. On Tuesday, while cleaning out my desk drawer, I find Gran's letter from my college graduation day. The yellowed paper unfolds to reveal her careful handwriting. Your life belongs to you first, April. Choose wisely who gets pieces of it. Love doesn't demand bankruptcy of spirit or wallet. That night, I cry for the first time since this began. Not from fear or guilt, but from recognition. In the morning mirror, I see Gran's determined eyes staring back at me. My goodbye letter takes 3 drafts. Not apologizing proves hardest. I place it in an envelope addressed to my parents, leaving it on my kitchen counter next to a check for $500 toward Mason's future. A gift, not an obligation. The California lease agreement arrives by email. My signature flows easily across the electronic document. The weight on my chest lightens with each letter. My phone buzzes with Troy's text. Dad's getting the papers notarized. Be at the bank Thursday at 10 a.m. I don't respond. Just check my flight itinerary one final time. Wednesday departure. One-way ticket. And that's how I just left that Wednesday night. The rideshare driver helps load my 2 suitcases at the airport after I arrive in San Francisco. Big trip? The biggest, I respond, ready to accept my new life away from my family. As the car merges onto the highway away from the airport, I watch the city skyline through the window. With each step closer to my new life, my smile grows wider, stretching toward a California horizon where no one waits with papers for me to sign. California sunshine streams through unfamiliar curtains as I stretch on the bed of my hotel, where I am staying until the end of this week. I am moving to my new apartment on Sunday. My phone remains deliberately off, sitting on the nightstand like a dormant bomb. Right now, my family is assembling at First Boston National Bank, checking watches and growing increasingly irritated by my absence. My meticulous planning led to this moment. I think back to the family Sunday dinners I attended, with practiced smiles. The careful way I responded to Troy's persistent questions about the loan, with vague phrases like, I'm still looking into it, and, the timing isn't ideal right now. I remember how my family forced me, especially my father. The appointment's confirmed for Thursday at 10. You'll be there, not a question, a command. I nodded non-committally while loading the dishwasher, buying precious time as my escape plan solidified. Last night, while they slept in their comfortable suburban homes, I boarded Flight 1422 to San Francisco. As the plane lifted through Massachusetts clouds, I felt the weight of 30 years of obligation fall away. My chest expanded with each mile west. I slide open the hotel room curtains wider, allowing myself to fully absorb the Pacific light. 3,000 miles now separate me from the bank where Troy paces the lobby, checking his watch every 30 seconds. My phone buzzes to life when I finally power it on. The barrage is immediate, 17 missed calls, 32 text messages. Mom's voicemail plays first, her voice trembling. April, where are you? Everyone's waiting, please call immediately. Dad's message is clipped, authoritative, this is unacceptable behavior, call now. By the 5th voicemail, Troy's tone has transformed from irritation to panic. If you're doing what I think you're doing, there will be consequences. Legal consequences. I scroll through the texts as I sip room service coffee. The latest from Mom sends an unexpected chill. We've contacted the police. You're officially a missing person. My fingers hover over the keyboard before tapping out a response to my old supervisor at work. They've escalated to missing persons, just as we anticipated. The reply comes quickly. HR blocked their information request this morning. Your employment status is confidential. Relax and enjoy California. I open my laptop and navigate to the email draft I prepared weeks ago. One deep breath, then I hit send. The comprehensive account of Troy's manipulation, my parents' enabling, and the systematic financial pressure now reaches our extended family. Included are screenshots of Troy's texts, planning the dinner strategy, and Mom's access to my company benefits portal. My phone rings. Boston Police Department. The officer's voice is professionally neutral. Miss Donovan, We're following up on a missing persons report filed by your parents. I'm not missing, I reply, my voice steadier than it's been in months. I moved for work, voluntarily. That's what we figured, he says, the hint of a smile in his voice. We'll inform your family you're safe. A notification appears, a private message from Jessica, Troy's wife. I understand why you left. He does this to everyone. Be safe. Throughout the afternoon, my support network activates like a well-rehearsed orchestra. Rachel confirms to my frantic mother that I'm safe and well but need space. Margaret sends a brief text. Office gossip shut down. Your replacement story is holding. Enjoy the Sunday, Mr. Wilson, my elderly neighbor, reports that my parents appeared at my old apartment demanding access. Told them you'd moved on. Legally, properly. They left disappointed. My new California supervisor sends a welcome email introducing me to the team. No questions asked about my sudden arrival date change. Tonight, they've arranged a casual dinner. As evening approaches, the family facade begins showing its first cracks. Mom's church friend, Betsy, messages, "Your mother's telling everyone you had a breakdown. Several of us suggested she respect your privacy. I always told her you deserve better." Uncle Frank, Dad's older brother, emails, "Got your explanation." Not surprised. Troy's had his hand out for years. Bank called me about his previous loan applications after your no-show. Things unraveling here. I step onto the hotel balcony, watching the sun sink toward the Pacific. For the first time in months, genuine laughter bubbles from my chest. Unexpected, liberating. 3,000 miles of distance has accomplished what years of conversations could not. Freedom tastes like California air, crisp and full of possibility. The welcome dinner notification pings on my calendar. New colleagues, new beginning, no history. I dress carefully, appreciating how my shoulders have already relaxed away from my ears. As I prepare to leave, one final text appears. From Mason, Troy's 8-year-old son, obviously using Jessica's phone. Aunt April, when can I visit California? I smile, typing back, someday soon, buddy, someday soon. 3 months later, I am dealing with projects, meetings, new clients, without anyone forcing me to do anything I don't want. However, one Tuesday afternoon, a certified letter arrives at work. Official stamp, my father's precise handwriting. Inside, a single page, your mother collapsed yesterday. Doctors aren't sure why. We need you home. My hands tremble, but my mind stays clear. 3 months of California sunshine hasn't erased 28 years of manipulation. I dial the hospital directly. No patient under my mother's name. Looking for creative ways to make you answer, Margaret comments during our lunch break on a video call. She recognizes family manipulation tactics better than most therapists. What's the count now? 5 and 3 days, I say, scrolling through my phone. Mother's tearful video message yesterday. Troy using his son for a video call for manipulation. Pastor calling about spiritual healing. And now this letter. Margaret butters her roll with methodical precision. They're escalating because you're winning. On Saturday morning, as I am working from my apartment, an email notification pings. Legal notice about family trust obligations from a law firm I've never heard of. A quick search reveals no such firm exists in Massachusetts. My phone vibrates with Troy's name. Against better judgment, I answer. Mason wants to say goodbye before... Troy's voice breaks perfectly on cue. Before what, Troy? Before he stops asking about you. Kid doesn't understand why his aunt abandoned him. The old guilt rises, but something new rises faster. Anger, clean and clarifying. Put Mason on if he's actually there, I say. A pause. He's at school. It's Saturday. The call ends abruptly. 3 more messages arrive before evening. Mother's health declining from stress of abandonment. Parents selling grandmother's china cabinet promised to me since childhood. A former neighbor calling my supervisor about my concerning behavior back east. I sit in my apartment, windows open to the coastal breeze, and make my decision. Monday morning, I send one email, family video call. Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, all of you together. Their responses flood in immediately. Mother's tearful acceptance, father's stern agreement, Troy's smug certainty. The apartment fills with sunset light Thursday evening as I arrange my laptop precisely. Behind me, no family photos, only my degrees and certification awards. I've prepared for this moment like a surgeon for a complicated operation. At exactly 7 o'clock, I click Join Meeting. Their faces appear in boxes across my screen, father at the head of their kitchen table, mother dabbing tissues beside him, Troy and Jessica with Mason visible in the background, Pastor Williams in the corner. 3 sets of aunts and uncles I barely recognize. April. Father begins, authority coding his voice. We've gathered as a family to discuss your concerning behavior and— I'll be speaking first, I interrupt, my voice steadier than it's ever been addressing him. I've prepared remarks and evidence that requires your full attention. Mother starts to protest, but father raises his hand to silence her, curiosity briefly overriding his need for control. 3 months ago, you ambushed me with demands to co-sign a $40,000 loan for Mason's college fund, I begin, screen sharing a meticulously organized timeline. Since then, you've escalated to increasingly desperate tactics, which I've documented fully. Troy shifts forward. This is ridiculous. We're trying to secure our son's future, and you're treating us like criminals. You told First National Bank the money was for Mason's education, I reply, clicking to the next slide. But I have you on record telling your poker buddy it would cover your gambling debts. The recording plays. Troy's unmistakable voice, April's bonus is exactly what I need to clear the tables. Once she signs, I'll worry about Mason's college later. Silence falls like a physical weight. Jessica's head snaps toward Troy. I continue methodically through my evidence, bank statements proving my parents have sufficient assets to guarantee the loan themselves. My student loan history versus Troy's fully funded education. Childhood diary entries documenting systematic favoritism. But perhaps most compelling, I say, clicking forward, is this analysis showing that this pattern has repeated throughout our lives. Troy receives. I provide. From bedrooms to birthdays to college tuition. Father's face has turned to stone. Mother's tears have stopped, replaced by something harder. You're twisting everything, Troy shouts, slamming his hand on their table. This is what families do. They help each other. Like you helped me with my student loans? I ask. Like you helped when I needed a co-signer for my first apartment? The assistance has only ever flowed one direction. Aunt Meredith speaks up from her square. Robert, is this true? That April paid her own way through college while you covered Troy's expenses? Father can't meet her eyes. My financial decisions are not family property, I state, looking directly into the camera. I'm willing to establish a relationship moving forward, but only under new terms. The kitchen behind them is so quiet I can hear the wall clock ticking. No contact for 6 months, I continue. After that, we can reassess based on everyone's behavior. Any attempt to manipulate me or contact my workplace will reset the clock. Father opens his mouth, closes it. For the first time in my life, I've rendered him speechless. In his eyes, behind the anger, flickers something unexpected. Respect. Troy stands abruptly. This is bull. The rest of his sentence cuts off as he storms away from the camera. Mother leans forward, her hand reaching toward the screen like she could touch me across 3,000 miles. April, She pauses, swallows. I'm sorry. I didn't see what we were doing. It's the first genuine apology I've heard from her since childhood. 6 months. I repeat, my finger hovering over the disconnect button. Your move. I end the call on my terms, not theirs. The silence in my apartment feels different now, like the quiet after a storm passes, like freedom. I stretch my arms toward the ceiling of my California apartment, sunlight streaming through windows that actually face the morning sky. 6 months in this space with an actual living room, and I still smile every time I pad across the hardwood floors in my bare feet. My phone buzzes with another congratulatory message about yesterday's promotion. The entire research team gathered with genuine champagne, not the grocery store sparkling wine my parents served when Troy got his first job after college. Breakfast on the balcony? Ellie texts, my downstairs neighbor-turned-friend who accepts my occasional need for quiet weekends, without question. My new circle here understands boundaries aren't walls, they're healthy perimeters that make relationships possible. I glance at my calendar, where next month's vacation to Sedona glows in bold letters. My bonus money, spent on desert sunrises instead of someone else's obligation. The peaceful ritual of morning coffee, without dreading the family ringtone, follows me onto the balcony. At work, Caitlin, a new lab assistant, hovers near my desk, clutching her phone. Everything okay? I ask, her eyes glisten. My brother needs co-signers for his business loan. My parents are pressuring me, but I just started paying off my student loans. 6 months ago, I'd have mumbled awkward sympathy. Today, I pull up a chair. Your success belongs to you, I tell her, my voice steady. You're not wrong for protecting it. The words flow without bitterness. Later, declining a request from a colleague feels simple. My no emerges without the guilt that once twisted my stomach into knots. Back home, Grand's letter hangs framed beside my degrees. Your life belongs to you first, no longer hidden in a drawer but displayed proudly like the woman I've become. Twice monthly therapy sessions have helped me understand the patterns carved into my childhood. The golden child dynamic isn't your creation or your responsibility, my therapist reminded me last week. The realization landed differently than before, settled rather than stinging. Weekends now include volunteer work at a women's financial literacy program. Last Sunday, I met Eric there, a curriculum developer whose gentle questions never probe beyond my offered boundaries. His hand in mine feels like invitation, not demand. Cousins from my mother's side reached out after my departure, distant family bridges rebuilt on mutual respect rather than obligation. Last night, I realized I hadn't thought about the loan in weeks. The space it once occupied now filled with actual living. Mother's letters arrive monthly now, hesitant at first, then increasingly sincere. "I never considered how differently we treated you and Troy," she wrote recently. Dad's stubborn silence has softened to brief text messages about weather and baseball scores, small steps across a wide gulf. From Rachel, news that Troy faces foreclosure without my financial safety net. Jessica brought Mason to visit last month without telling Troy. Her quiet rebellion against years of enabling his demands. Thanksgiving approaches, and my dining table will host the family I've chosen, Ellie, co-workers, neighbors who've become friends. Margaret visits next week during her retirement celebration trip. Rachel flies in Thursday, already planning her toast to the woman who chose herself. Mr. Wilson's congratulatory letter sits on my desk, his careful penmanship reminding me that courage looks different at every age. Yesterday marked my freedom anniversary with a small cupcake, a tradition I'll continue yearly. This morning, I opened a savings account specifically for Mason's education. My terms, my choice. The note I'll give him on his 16th birthday is already drafted. Your future is yours to build, but support should come freely. I close my laptop on today's completed project, carrying my tea to the balcony. The Pacific stretches before me, vast and glittering. Standing with arms outstretched, face warmed by sunset, I finally understand freedom isn't the absence of family but the presence of choice. Have you ever had to set firm boundaries with family? How did they respond when they realized you wouldn't back down?